swearing.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All sizes, shapes.
I would like to advise those present that the notice of this meeting of the Housing Authority of the City of Hoboken has been provided to the public in accordance with provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act. Notice to this regular meeting of Thursday, June 9, 2022 was given by publication of the annual meeting notice of the authority with amendments as necessary and was sent to the Jersey Journal and Star Ledger on Tuesday, May 31st, 2022, as notification to the general public of the meeting. Sent to the City Clerk of Hoboken on Tuesday, May 31st, 2022, with a copy of the agenda to be posted on the bulletin board in City Hall, Hoboken Library, and Hoboken Police Department, and posted on the authority website on Tuesday, May 31st, 2022. I direct the minutes of this meeting to state that I have announced the adequate notice of this meeting has been given as required by the Open Public Meetings Act.
Public comment. A Forbes. We didn't think he was going to be on.
Present.
Good, all right. A Impastato.
Here.
A Willett. Here. B Reyes.
Here.
M Russo.
Present.
A Sanford.
Here.
E Seitzman.
Here. Thank you, Director. Before we start this meeting, I would just like to ask the public and everyone here, if you have a phone, please put it on vibrate. If you want to have conversations, we ask that you please step out into the hallway and do so. And so, Director, do you want to start with your?
Number 10, I thought. You got the public comment period?
Yes, the public. Oh, you want?
We'll do that
Those that
first.
have signed up?
You need a sheet?
Okay, and we're going to start also the public comment portion. I just want to advise everyone that everyone here has the right to speak for 5 minutes. As the chair, I am asking that if you do come up to speak, that you speak respectfully to everyone on this board. If we find, or I find, that you are being disrespectful to anyone on the board, I am going to ask you to please no longer speak, and if it escalates, we will ask you to be removed from the board, from the meeting. I'm also asking you that you direct anything through me and not directly at anyone else as the chair. Thank you. First person, Ray Rodriguez.
Started now?
Yes.
Good evening, Madam Chair. I spoke to you earlier about the reimbursement funds for Amazing Troop Society. You're going to find, like I said before, that if you're going to deny funds to my nonprofit, in all actuality, you can't, because you guys signed on the dotted line when it came down to my proposal. My proposal, if you check on the proposal, it states that we're having Nerf games. Nerf games was given. The kids participated in it. Some parents did as well. They had a great time with their kids. And all we're asking for is the funds for that tournament. Okay? Following year, when we apply again for the RFP, I'm hoping that you state what you want from us and we'll give it to you. Other than that, I'm going to give you a heads up on what's going to be happening this year. And we've been doing this now 5 years in a row. We've been having the American Diabetes Karate Super Show. Usually we have it with Leo Pellegrini at the Multi-Center. And we've been doing it 5 years. COVID, we weren't able to do it for 2 years. So, but this, every time we do something for the people. We don't do it for ourselves. In this event, we're going to give all the proceeds to the American Diabetes Association. We had, at one point, came up to $3,000, and God bless Carmelo Garcia helping me that day with the event. We're also going to have the fried chicken cook-off. All right, people? We're going to have the fried chicken cook-off, and the winner of that is going to get a $100 gift card. We do a lot in the community, and all we ask is not always to be fighting with you guys for every little scrap. We get very little. We're not one of those programs that are funded. We have a lot of money. We don't have a lot of money, but I've been now, this October coming up, 13 years devoted to you. And I don't want to be having this issue with you guys. Every time I turn around, there's some problem. There's an issue here, there's an issue there. I'm the guy in the corner. Not many people notice me, but you definitely notice my students. They win a lot of championships. This 26th of this month, we're going to a tournament, and I'm hoping my kids win. Usually they do. You heard me do. They usually win, but I don't want to keep having these issues with you guys because it's not fair to myself. And I'm gonna be honest. I'm talking about me. I do so much in the community that you guys don't realize I do a lot. I mean, when I say a lot, after the cook-off, we're doing remembering the karate. We're also, once again, remember Hope's Wish, my daughter that passed away in 2009 at the tender age of 13 from type 1 diabetes. We're doing an anti-bullying show that day. We're doing also another cook-off, which person is going to get a $100 gift card. Latin food cook-off for Latin people. You know, listen, you know, bring your best dish and we'll judge it. You know, you're going to win some money. We do a lot. We're also going to do a karate, Save the Children, karate, autism, and all the proceeds go to them too. You know, what I'm saying to you guys, 13 years here devoted to the community, but I find myself always having to fight for something. And I still feel, and I know that some of you guys don't feel this way, and that's your personal opinion, which is fine with me. But Nerf games was a big hit. The distraction from all the gun shooting and all this stuff, the distraction that these kids need, they need something other than just playing football, basketball. They need something other. That place was packed. April 9th, that place was packed. We have the launchers. We have the people that are willing to volunteer. Why not? The message, the Hoboken, the prosecutor's office felt that it was a great thing. Hoboken prosecutors, they came out and they spoke to the kids.
Thank you.
Anyway, thank you very much, and God bless you all. Thank you. Next.
Patricia Waiters.
Sorry, Mom.
Patricia Waiters. With due respect to you, Madam Chair, I'm going to keep my voice only at a 1 today. And respect is given, it will be received when it's with respect to Patricia Waiters. Y'all know me well. It's really kind of hard to refrain from getting emotional when you keep seeing the same thing, making empty promises to these tenants with no results. But tonight, I'm going to refrain from all of that so everybody in the room could get respect. But sarcasm and respect from your board and your superiors, the same thing. It goes both ways.
Absolutely,
okay?
and they're
Thank
all
you so
aware of
much. I just want that on the record. Okay, with that being said, I don't really want to get distracted. Everything in this town should not be when Patricia Waiters appear in the room. I don't want to be misconstrued as angry, evil, or political. I'm not a political person, and y'all see that, but I wouldn't be still standing. I've been doing this 23 years, deep down in my heart. I get all kinds of calls. Today alone, I'm not lying. Manny can verify this, from my city workers, from big staff and city work. I get a billion calls, because you know why? They know I'm a true advocate. I'm on nobody's side. I'm on the people's side. I'm a people person, not a politician. okay? So I want that to be said and clear. With that being said, I definitely wanted to talk about the shooting, but just very briefly, I want to pull something positive out of what happened negative. All of the little boys that was involved in the shooting yesterday, even with all the facts that you guys tried to gather together, this is what I was trying to explain to you. Unlike the first speaker, I'm not going to stand up here and name a whole list or bring a narrated and rehearsed script to tell you what Pat Wade is doing in this community. I've been in y'all houses, I know the conditions, I know y'all quality of life is not being respected, okay? I just spoke Wednesday, Mike, am I right? Just Wednesday at the meeting about shooting. And I had to tell a council member, you don't have to fear your kids being shot. And I'd be And I'd be doggone if 7 days later a kid got shot. And I spoke, if you go rewind and watch the meetings, because they want to say, we're not biased, we're not biased, we're not racist. You know what, I don't even have to say it no more. Actions speak volumes. Having that been in another area, and not the 4th Ward, we would have been still had every media outlet. That's why I told them yesterday, thank you, Miss Barbara from Hopes, but I told every media person, don't bring that camera in my face. Not now. Because this is no time to rejoice. I don't care how much party, picnic, cookies, popcorn, candy. The facts still remain. They packed up, they going, now what? This young lady got to go home tonight, your chair, with beautiful little kids that look just like me. And we got to worry. Emily Jabor got all of this recognition because she a mom that demands help. What did I say, Mike? We demand help. And guess what happened? Our kid got shot. So you figure that out. When you continue to disenfranchise Pat Waders, don't call Pat. I went right up to the chief and told him I wasn't invited. But my girl Barbara always hit me right off. Pat, this is happening today. Because she know. When those kids that was involved in that shooting, all 19, most of them yesterday, I was leaving. They all walked up to Pat. I took them to get Gatorade. I took them to get cupcakes because I'm respected in my community. I don't have to come at them and give them a hot dog at election time and then say, hey, we the cops, we love you, give me a hug. I teach my kids, you can feel through somebody's body language, do they care? Show some compassion. You can't say you're not if you got the projects here and all luxury built around them. And go in the units. When Romano walked up to me, he said, look at the building falling down. I said, go in the units. Go turn their water on. Go try to flush the toilet. Okay? So I want you to keep this in mind tonight. I'm available and always going to be available. And you, kudos to you. I'm so glad you're still here because you did so much. From when my son was 6, Andrew, you gave him scholarships and everything to join the other kids. That's what we need. So link with people like us that want to serve everybody in Hoboken. Guys, it's time for change. Thank God I'm here to speak and we're not taking a moment of silence for that poor. Thank God, that's how close it came. Have a good night.
Thank you, Patricia. No other members of the public? Executive Director.
Thank you. And thank you folks for speaking. This past Monday night, that shooting incident occurred while a community lifestyle flag football event was ongoing in Mama Johnson Field. What a shock to the community. Close to our children playing on the field. The Hoboken Police Department were close by and responded immediately. The shooting victim was given first aid and taken to the hospital. He is, thankfully, at home recovering. Thank goodness. Right? But as Commissioner Pistato has continually said, we just can't sit back because next time they might not be going home. So we've got to keep working. We've got to keep working together. Events at the field right now have been canceled until Monday. When events begin, increased police presence will be on site. And as the HPD investigates the incident, the information that they can release is slim right now, so we must wait to receive the full facts. They have continually and intensively used our camera systems and are intensively investigating. They've responded well. To say the least, that incident was a severe shock to our community, and we must be persistent in our efforts to heal our community. I've spoken to numerous residents since Monday, many of them that were on site at the time of the gunfire, as was our chairman, Barbara Reyes, on site. They too are victims of this incident. It's not just the fellow that was shot. It's our whole community that's a victim of this incident. Both adults and children were traumatized. As a start, Commissioner Impastato called a hastily organized security committee meeting for Tuesday evening. Numerous community leaders were in attendance, including Assemblywoman Chaparro, Councilman Ramos, HPD Chief Aguirre and his officers, Michelle May from the Jubilee Center, and an assortment of community leaders and folks from our staff. Although not present, School Board Superintendent Johnson has offered counseling services of the Hoboken School to any affected by the incident, and I would really encourage folks. We will be having a link to how to reach that up on our website. But please, if folks are affected by that, I've seen videos and it was traumatic. I thank all of them for their participation. They are committed to making a difference over the long term. And I think we saw folks yesterday at the pop-up policing event. I think was a start, but it can only be a start. We've got to move from there and look for events that can get the community together. We need that commitment by all to look for ways to bring all the funding we can, all the activity to HHA. I see Councilman Ramos in the audience that just cares. That was there right away, making sure we're moving into the future. The solution to this problem facing Hoboken, indeed our entire country, because the echoes there of what have happened across this country lately, will take the best efforts of all of us. So please, let's work together and keep up in that direction. And having said that, I know folks might want to say a thing or two about what we've been up to and how the community is faring here.
Andrew, do you want to speak on it?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the times when we see these things happen, we have calls, we have meetings. We did the same thing a year ago when the shots were fired. It's just, we have the calls, we have the meetings, and then it just goes away, and there's no attention, and there's nothing, there's no resources. And we just sit back and we hope that it doesn't happen again. And then it continues to happen again. So at some point, things have to change. And I don't have the answers. I know a lot of us don't have the answers, but we are trying to get more attention on the housing authority. I think from like the top, it starts with the mayor of Hoboken. For decades, I've been in Hoboken 16 years. I'm not from here. I haven't lived here as long as most of you, but I've never seen a mayor pay attention to the Hoboken Housing Authority, whether it be on the ground, at events, showing their face if it's not election time, and then resources, money, events, jobs, programs, just attention. And I think that's what I'm pushing for, is trying to get the people at the top to dedicate what they can to the people of the Hoboken Housing Authority, so they're not forgotten, they're not just back there, which is what everyone thinks. So that's kind of where I'm gonna fight for, and keep putting pressure on the people that are saying that they're doing something. I mean, it starts with our council. There's people on our council, and again, like Pat said, it's not political. It's just reality. They like to come out and say they're against gun violence, but what are you doing to make a difference? So I don't want to just have calls and get credit for having calls. Like I want to make sure that we're gathering some of these older teenagers, these young adults, and putting them in a room and listening to them. Like, what's the problem? Why are we battling with the people from Bayonne? Why are we getting into these silly, fights on social media? And because someone's gonna die. Someone's gonna die. And then it's gonna be a whole nother thing. So that's kind of, like I said, that's the action items that I'm trying to push for specifically. I wanna get these kids in a room, these young adults. I wanna talk to them. I wanna get people that are trained in this. I'm not trained in this. I don't know what I'm doing, but I just know that something needs to be done. So trying to get some people in a room and talk to them and see what the issues are and see how we can help. I talked to some of them that play basketball in the gym. That's my world. And like there's areas where they want to They want like a studio where they can go to like work on their rap lyrics and production, music production. Like that's a home run. Like if the mayor and the city council cared about this stuff, like in my opinion, that's the first step. Like give them a damn room where they can go and they can work on things that they're passionate about. Whether that's the arts, whether that's the guitar, whether that's rap lyrics, give them something that they want. And at least that's what I'm hearing. So like that's the first, and we don't have the money. Well, you know, people are like, well, what are you guys doing about it? We don't have any money. This housing authority does not have any money. I'm not sure if the city does, you know, but I know that I think they do. We see boats being lifted out of the water, you know, and the mayor's bragging about that every day. A new boat is lifted up out of the harbor. So if we have money for that and we can find grants for that, we can find a grant for a music studio in the Hoboken Housing Authority. So like, that's not going to stop gun violence, but in my opinion, we need places for them to go to, for our young adults, our residents, to keep them distracted from the noise of what's happening, not only in the world, in this country, but in this community. And we have to do a better job of listening to them and understanding what they want and what the problems are.
Thank you, Andrew.
Ms. Seitzman?
Thank you, Andrew. You're right. I understand, but we do have amazing community partners. We do have Ray Rodriguez here. We do have hopes. You were with me. We had the most beautiful holiday celebration where we took our community partners. Chairwoman and I, yourself, we've been trying to bring things into the courtyard, but we're 3 people. We need everybody, and I say it all the time. We need more love. We need more help. But so if we could just take the love that we have here and expand it, it's a home run. We have a lot of community partners. Maybe we go to the community partner and say, what can you do for us now? Bring some suggestions, try to do grants, try to find money. I don't think anybody doesn't care. I think it's a lot of stuff going on. We do what we can. We've done what we can. Do we need to do more? Absolutely. And hopefully we will do more together.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Sure.
Just want to add, more as a councilman than as a commissioner right now, and I'll say it because I know Ruben sometimes is very, he doesn't necessarily stand up and pat himself on the back as much as he should. But Ruben and I have been council people in this town for 20 plus years. And we're talking about our kids now.
Our kids and grandkids.
It's not our friends like it used to be. It's our kids and our friends' kids that we're talking about. And Andrew's right, we don't do enough as a city. This is the tale of 2 cities. We say it all the time. Ruben and I have this conversation probably on a weekly basis. It's the housing authority and everything else. It's the back of town and everything else. And that's just gotta stop. That's gotta stop not just for this. That's gotta stop for everything. And that's why, I mean, this whole repositioning and what we wanna do with our buildings and how we wanna give you, our residents, the same things that every other resident in the city of Hoboken has. That is the goal. That will always be the goal. And I know Ruben will die trying, I'll most certainly die trying, and I truly believe that every commissioner here on this board and the director and his entire staff are going to die trying. We are not going to give up. We will not give up. It's not in me, it's not in Ruben, it's not in anybody that I deal with on a daily basis. We need to continue to bring that awareness. Commissioner Impastato is 100% right. That needs to start all the way at the top and beyond the mayor. It's got to start with our state representatives, our county representatives, all the way from the top on down. And we'll continue to do that as much as we can. And Commissioner Seitzman's right. We need that love from everybody. Everybody has to get involved in this stuff. Right? We have to have these conversations. Sometimes they're hard. And sometimes we're gonna be in a room, we're gonna be screaming at each other. But I'd rather scream at each other than watch somebody else get shot. So I hope that we could do that. I hope we could do it as a board, as a city council, a city, and as the residents of the community. So I'm always here to help as much as I possibly can. Please reach out to all of us. I know your councilman does everything he can, so kudos to him and everything that he does as well. So, thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilman. I would just like to say a few words, and I want to step away from being the chairwoman of this board. I want to talk as a resident. What upsets me is that a month ago, I want to say a month and a half ago, we had a shooting. A young kid again was shot in the stomach, right? Did we see media down there? Did we see everything that happened? No, we did not. Now, just the other day, we had same issue, another shooting, and we had media. We had everyone involved. Everyone came down because it wasn't just our children in that field. Yes. And that's what upsets me, and somebody has to call it how it is. And again, I'm not saying this as the chairwoman of the board. I'm saying this as a parent that was there, that was in that field with all those children yelling for them to get on the ground because they didn't know what to do. They were climbing gates. Margie's daughter and her husband were there, and they can say that it was probably the scariest thing that you have to go through as a parent, to look up and see your child run across the field because they didn't know what to do, saying, I thought this was going to be another school issue. My daughter said to me, I thought this was going to be like the school where they killed the kids. This is what our kids face day in and day out. So this is, I want everybody to know that this is personal to me. Me sitting on this board doesn't take me away from being a resident and see how everybody feels and what's going on down there. I have one of my kids on crutches, and my other two refuse to speak about it. So if you think that this is not impacting our children, it is. At the same hand, I do want to thank the Hoboken Police Department. They were outstanding that night. I was still on the call with the operator, and they were there. Until they arrived, we didn't get up off the floor to make sure that those children were okay. But had those the police department and their men and women that were on site not been there, we would not have been speaking about another child shot and recovering at home. We probably would have been speaking about a homicide.
Yeah, that's the truth.
So yes, I agree with everyone on this board that we need to do more, we need to bring more, but it takes everybody. It can't be one or two people. Yesterday was the start. That event that we had yesterday with the Hoboken Police Department was an event that was planned from months ago. This was not an event that was planned knowing that this was going to happen. Unfortunately, those events took place, but you know what? It is a start. Everybody was down here. So the same way everybody was down here when we had that event, 2 days after a shooting, I hope that same momentum stays, that all those politicians that were there yesterday continue to come down, continue to have our conversations with our residents, and continue to have open dialogue so that they know what we need and what we want and what we expect and demand as residents of this town. So thank you.
Thank you. This, like I said, is just a shock to the community, and we are going to take some time to process. We're going to need to put some time aside and process and come together. So thank you all for coming together tonight, and let's keep it up. Couldn't be prouder of everything that was said tonight. Thank you so much. And I will try to move on after that. Wow. Speaking of security, a request for proposals is published for the security services at our elderly and disabled buildings. We'll be having bids back on the 6th of July, so we hope that at the July meeting we will be able to pass that contract in July. So we'll be back with you, and that's for security services for 8 hours a day at each and every Hoboken disabled site. So that's coming your way. I continue to meet with residents and community members on a regular basis. I do encourage any resident that wishes to meet with me personally to schedule that appointment either through their manager's office or at the central office. Alternatively, residents can reach out to Ms. Lourdes at our central office, or just come on in and fill out an intake form, and we'll schedule that. I'm available for meetings at the office, at the site offices, in your homes, by Zoom, by phone, however you'd like to get together. I think we've had about 25 meetings in the last couple of weeks. Our management staff is always ready to help. Please go to your managers, speak with them with issues on a day-to-day basis. This week we met with our RAB board. We held that on Wednesday, June 8th, and the RAB board agenda focused on security. This conversation was held at our RAB board with our great resident representatives. We reviewed security at the senior buildings. We reviewed our strategic plan and what our next steps are in our strategic plan. We talked about how we might, and we're looking for anyone who has any ideas. We certainly have some, and the RAB board does as well, about doing something to honor our dear departed Miss Arlette Braxton. So we'll be coming back to the board to talk about that over the next month. The RAB board is going to be approving some revised bylaws for their group. We talked about establishing a youth and a teen resident advisory board. So working up some bylaws and ground rules for the youth and teen resident advisory board as well. We talked about basketball court hours to be until 10 o'clock at night, and upcoming activities for youth and the elderly at the RAB board. So those were the highlights of our meeting with the RAB board. I continue to thank that group for meeting and dealing with a lot of the hard issues. Our new outreach policy specialist, Corrine Shaw, Corrine is working on developing our new newsletter. I think before this next meeting, you'll see our new newsletter out. Should see it in the next couple of weeks. Feel free as that develops and as you see that coming your way to come up with ideas for it. But I'm really looking forward to getting our communication out through that newsletter. I'm continuing to devote some time to physical therapy, but I'm completely back. So it's a very short-term issue now. By the way, I do have a vacation coming up for a week toward the end of June, so we'll hopefully see you before that. As we've opened our community room use for residents, we are keeping an eye on the new variants of the pandemic, but we're open again for folks to rent out our community rooms. Our bingos are back in force, and we're glad to see that. We are in search of that additional plumber for our maintenance staff, so if anyone knows anyone, please send them our way. We'll be advertising that soon, and we're also looking to hire a qualified purchasing agent as part of our financial team. I do thank the board for their productive meeting last Thursday evening regarding our next steps in the Hoboken Housing Forward process. I think it was really educational. I hope you liked it. We worked hard on it in partnership with the enterprise partners. It's so important that we all stay on the same page as we proceed into the future. We have had another meeting with the city and Chris Brown and his city planning team back on Friday the 3rd. We outlined future steps for HHA and moving forward. We're drafting out with the city a memorandum of understanding to move toward that development zone application. So we're on full steam, and Councilman Russo, thank you. You're back there supporting us very strongly, and we really appreciate that. We do remain available. If somebody has a civic group or something that you'd like us to come and talk to, we're available to get the word out and make sure everyone understands what we're up to and what we're doing. At the last meeting, a issue came up of us hiring residents, and yes, we're well in favor of that. Folks don't realize that over 28% of our staff is residents. Over 28% of our staff are Housing Authority residents. So we'll continue in that. We've got 12 full-time employees that are residents and 7 part-time employees that are residents. So we have been continuing to work on that over the years. Fox Hill Gardens, the renovation contract documents are reaching their final scope. We do have a contractor and we're adjusting some scope on that. We hope work starts soon. We are obtaining pricing on additional camera coverage for each floor at Monroe, Adams, and Fox Hill. One of our main goals this year is to get cameras on each of the floors on our elderly disabled sites. We are going to be putting in a security grant application to HUD to help cover the costs, and we may be talking to the city a bit about some CDBG money for that before it's over. But we think that's a high priority. Our drug abuse and other criminal activity policy was reviewed and continues to be open for review. It's posted on our website. Take a look at that. We will be looking for a hearing on that, probably in tandem with our ACOP admissions policy, which we're going to talk about just a little bit later in the meeting. We are planning on having a resident meeting round in July, again, at each site. I'm moving up my meet and greets from a 3-month cycle right now to a 2-month cycle, so we can get back out to all of the amps sooner. I think with what's going on in our community, I think we need to talk, and we need to be doing as much communication as possible. So we'll see you all during July on each site. Housing for Hoboken, we published the invitation. The deadline was extended to June 1st, and we have 6 applications. We will be bringing together the Housing for Hoboken board members that are from the Housing Authority Board for consideration and review of those during the next month, and hope to have them to the July board. Vacancy issues, attachment 1 is my vacancy report for May. In May, we had 16 newly leased units and 6 transfers. We had 1 resident that vacated their apartment. We have, on June 1st, 15 additional units ready that are currently being or ready to be leased during in June. That's just at June 1st. We have turned more units and will be leasing more than that over the month. That leaves us with a 94% occupancy rate as of June 1st. We were aiming for 95%, which is the HUD standard, and we missed it by 3/4 of a percentage point. So by July, we'll be there. We'll be there. Our goal is 98% to take us back to where we were before the elevator project, and we're going to get there. We're turning units well. We're working on a number of strategies for that, including bringing on another group of force account union members that we have an application and a request for approval from HUD. Since September of 2021, starting our fiscal year, we've leased up 126 units. We've performed 42 transfers in that period of time, totaling 168 moves in 8 months. That's well over 20 moves a month. I'm very proud of this effort. We won't stop until we're at 98%. We do have unit turnover crews working for us, and I will be introducing now representatives tonight from one of our partners in unit turnover, Local 55. Local 55 performs vacant unit repair work for the Housing Authority. Many of you have seen the excellent work that they perform. Many of you that have gone into our units that have been turned, they look great. They really do a great job. And so I'd like to, they work under the supervision of Jackie. Hey, Jackie. And we wouldn't have that kind of quality or professionalism without her eye. And we certainly wouldn't have it without the Local 55 leadership. Montanique Costa and Louis Guzman are here, and we've asked them to come and say a thing or two to us. So thank you for coming.
Thank you very much, Director. Good evening, Director, Chairwoman Reyes, Commissioners. Excuse me. My name is Martinique Costa. I'm an agent of Laborers Local 55. And we came tonight because we'd like to say thank you to the Hoboken Housing Authority for the opportunity to work together, and because we actually have a really good relationship here in Hoboken. I don't know if you know, but your staff is extremely efficient. You know, Jackie Medina is amazing. There's always materials. Everyone's very respectful. You know, usually you might have friction in places between the different unions. It doesn't happen here. We currently have 26 members turning units. And it's just steady work, steady work. There's never any issues coming out of Hoboken. We have our foreman Adrian here. He's from Hudson County. We also have a Hoboken Housing Authority resident, Juan Cruz, who will say something in a second. He's a Hoboken Housing Authority resident he's on the project, turning units every day along with our other 25 members. But it's a great partnership, a great relationship, and we are appreciative. Hoboken's a good partner. We've been working with you guys on and off since 2012. You know, whenever it's time to renew a contract, or, you know, there's never a year-long reasons why things can't get done. Your staff is very efficient. Everyone answers, you know, very respectful towards one another. And we all answer emails, phone calls. It's never, you know, throwing anyone to the side like they don't matter. So we do appreciate your partnership and the relationship with Hoboken Housing Authority, and thank you very much. And this is Juan Cruz. He's a resident of Hoboken Housing Authority, and he's here with us turning units.
Hello. I'm sorry, my English is not very good, but you know, I'm going to try it now. My name is Juan. I live in C55 CS Street. I live for a long time in Hoboken. My family is in the project for a long time too. I like Hoboken. It's nice. Hoboken, 25 years ago, and now it's different. I like it now. I'm working for the local 55 for 1 year and 2 months. I like it because it's easy for me because I live in Hoboken, you know, and then my transportation, you know. Because 1 year to go, we working for New York, you know, a lot of money for the train. I like it. I like it. So I'm happy every day because, you know, I say thank God I got the job. You know. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. And I also want to vouch for these guys. You guys actually were the ones that fixed the apartment that I moved into, and I could not be happier. So thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Chairwoman.
Good to hear that.
And I just want to introduce my partner. This is Business Agent Luis Gomez. And again, Jackie does an amazing job. She is so efficient, and I imagine she would be like that whatever her job is. She's just boom, 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 execute.
Thank you.
So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Director. I'm sorry.
I have a question. So we kind of run into this all the time where, you know, a unit may get turned over and then something may happen. And a lot of times it's really just because of the age of the building and the circumstances that we're in. But my question to you really is, how can we help more, right? Our goal is always to get a unit turned over, make sure that the repairs to that unit are done correctly, they're done efficiently, and then we don't have to have any of our staff or any of you go back into that unit to fix something 2 months later, 3 months later, or whatever it may be. So the question really is, what is it that you're lacking? What is it that we need to provide to help you to achieve that goal in a more efficient and in a better way? Is that more staff? Is that more materials? Is that more communication? Whatever that may be, what is it that we need to do as a board and as the director and his staff help you to achieve those goals in a better way and in a faster way?
Well, I mean, we have our
Now's
foreman
your
here.
opportunity, guys.
We have our foreman here. And I'm just going to say, how it goes, and Adrian can back me up. So they'll give the unit, Adrian will go in the unit, he's the first one to go in the unit, he's the foreman. Make a list of all the materials that needs to get done, he gives it to Jackie, and before our staff goes into the unit, or there's materials in the unit so they can get working, if there's something that might be here in 3 or 4 days, they get started on this, then move to the next thing. But, I mean, we work with a lot of housing authorities, and your operation is extremely efficient. But Adrian can, you know, step in and say that you'd be shocked.
Yeah, the only for the materials take longer. You know, sometimes take 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
It's more about getting materials for you to get that turnover done quicker.
So it's not the authority's fault, it's when they're requesting it,
The
right?
person, yeah.
And are there ever any circumstances where you can't handle something that's in that unit? For example, any plumbing, electrical, anything like that may be above and beyond the skill set of somebody in there doing that.
Is there ever a situation where we run into something like that? And if there is, Director, I guess this is to you and to you, what's the plan when that does happen, if it does happen?
I can answer that.
Yeah, please.
So when it goes beyond that point, we usually have our plumbers go in. So if it's a pipe or if it needs a replacement of a tub, we usually go in and do that type of work. So we'll go in, which we did this past week, and then they'll continue their work.
Okay. So how is that, and I know what your answer would be, but what's your answer going to be is really more my concern. How is that dynamic when something like that happens? Is there a delay? Does that cause a delay for you? Again, my goal here is to do it well and do it fast. So I want to try to remove any obstacles that are actually causing you delays, or vice versa, if you're causing us delays.
No little delay for a couple of days, for 3 days, 4 days, you know. But we go to the solution fast, you know.
Okay, so
we're
we're looking at a few days if there's any kind of delays. Okay, so how do we, and this is an internal question, right? How do we become more efficient at that?
And to add a layer to that, sometimes we will bring in our contractor on that as well as and our staff. And I think this idea of bringing on a more skilled set union is important.
Yeah, sure.
And I think somebody that can be at our beck and call to come in like that would save us some days over time.
Good, all right, good.
Yeah,
I have to vouch for them. As you guys know, I just moved into my unit 2 months ago, and Friday I received a call from the director of maintenance. They needed to go into my apartment because there happened to be a leak, but I wasn't seeing the leak. It was actually in the wall behind my stove, and of course they went into the apartment. They looked at it Monday morning. They were there first thing in the morning. They worked from first thing in the morning to I want to say almost 4 o'clock before they left my apartment. And but it was that quick where they came in, they had to find the leak, see where it was, how long it was going to take, and in 1 day they were able to complete the job. And if you were to go to my apartment, you wouldn't even know that the wall was broken, and it was, I could show you pictures before and after later on, but they did an amazing job. So it was just a 1 day thing. So
I'd like to take this opportunity to also just remind everyone something. I know you're tired of hearing me. I was at a unit today with Sammy, our maintenance supervisor, and again, the wall was open, we're fixing it, and our guys are fixing it, but the pipes are so old, they're so brittle, they're so bad, and this was another one of those issues where a pipe broke on 3rd floor, 2nd floor, all got, so when this fine crew goes in, all right, and they do their work, whack-a-mole happens, that's what I call it, right? You never know what might happen 2 days later because they're attaching to this very, very old plumbing system. So they can do their work very professionally, leave, and a week later after that been used for a week or so, something ships back in there, etc. So we go back in. But we're cognizant of that, but those are just some of the barriers because these systems are just amazingly old. I mean, it's scary sometimes when you take a look at what's behind these walls, which is why we need to redevelop it. So.
I have one question for you. If other residents like Juan want to get involved or potentially apply, what's that process look like? Are you hiring?
Into the union?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we cover the whole state, and if they're interested, they can just contact, most of the property managers, they can contact Jackie directly, give them my cell phone number, and we'll set up an interview and explain the process, see where they're at in construction, whether they have no skills, some skills, a lot of skills, and we have an apprenticeship program, a DOL certified apprenticeship program, but we're always looking to recruit people who are serious.
Yeah. Do they have to have a license or?
No, to join our local, we require that you're 18 years of age, you can pass a drug test, and you're physically able to do the work.
Got it.
And we actually did do an apprenticeship program with the Hoboken Housing Authority back in 2012.
How did that go?
It went well. Some people came and worked for Hoboken Housing directly, but other people are working. We just dispatched another resident to go down to somewhere South Jersey. It's like an hour and a half away from here, but he's driving.
How do we get another program launched in the Housing Authority, apprentice, like 2012?
Hoboken, if they requested it, we would recruit your residents.
Who has to request?
the housing authority.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
And we can sit down and talk about the process, but you know, we go door to door, pull everybody out, basketball courts, everything. Hey, let's do this.
Great.
Yeah,
Thank you.
no problem. Thank you.
Thank you
very
for all you
much.
do.
Have a good
Thank you.
evening.
I'm sorry, Director, I think Sammy wanted to say something. You're good?
It was cleared up.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it was cleared up.
Can I say something?
The little Sammy's cleans up well. He's usually this much in work. You're looking good, Sammy. On special capital projects, the Housing Finance Agency money is coming to a close with a couple things happening there. We do have the boiler work at Adams starting today, I think. We've been waiting for that boiler to come in and the condensate tank. So they're going to be working at Adams over the next month, replacing the entire boiler system over at Adams. We are also have a proposal with the Housing Finance Agency to redo the Harrison Courtyard. We're asking for that scope of work right now and the price from the contractor. So our concept is to go in to the Harrison Courtyard where the major issues are along the buildings and along where that sinking's going on, and put in, if you will, a buffer walk zone that's concrete, and then leave the pavers in the middle, and then put that concrete buffer in. Replacing all the pavers is just too much money. We just don't have the money left to do it. This project is going to be a little over $100,000. We're going to pull up those pavers, and we're going to put, if you will, a border all the way around, because our issue is those are shifting right where the building are. So help is coming to the Harrison Courtyard, finally. Yeah, we need that, as we saw the other day. But we've had this in process for a while. We do have an amendment for the ACOP admissions contained occupancy policy in front of you today that came out of that subcommittee. We do have training going on with Nan McKay. They are reviewing our files right now to do training with our staff. Our annual inspections, which we haven't been able to do for 2 years because of COVID, are going to be taking place starting on the 21st of June. We will have an inspector in each and every unit of the housing authority, and inspecting each and every square foot and reporting back to us. So you will be notified as residents as this inspection happens. I'm glad to see it because it's been with COVID a couple of years. So that inspection is going to be starting on the 21st of June. We have been working on a new project-based voucher request for proposal. We're cranking away on that with Harold and our fee accountant, Bill Ketchum. Mr. Farrar on maintenance has been reviewing our REAC reports, developing our plan to pass the next REAC inspection. We have been actively chasing the holes.
Good luck.
I mean, we're filling them with concrete. Sam, you wanted to talk earlier. Why don't you do this?
I mean, we're actually filling the holes up with gravel, just not to attract any possums or raccoons or skunks.
Go to the mic.
Yeah, you need to be a little louder or come to the mic.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Yeah, we're trying to actually backfill all the holes off the foundation that are created by skunks. They're not created by rats. The rats, although they're actually going into the holes, but they're not the ones causing the issue. So we don't want to fill in the hole with concrete, not to kill the critters inside of the foundation of the building. So we do fill it up with gravel. They come out and just backfill and fill it right back in again. So we're just doing a whack-a-mole game on them, just filling them in as we go.
I actually purchased for where I live, the section, it's called Skunk Away. I ordered it on Amazon and it's been working by my building. I've been laying it out. It lasts 4 to 5 days. And I guess the scent that it has, it doesn't let them come all the way to the building. So that has been working. I don't know.
We might take a look at that, folks.
Amazing. I love Amazon.
We'll take a look at that.
I sure do. I'm terrified of that.
There is a service we're looking into that can trap skunks as well. taken away. We do. I grew up in
And
Scottsdale,
extended
in my
family.
neighborhood. Yeah.
I have a video of them.
Still at a restaurant, at the restaurant. So thanks to restaurant, still at a restaurant.
Now remember, the other side of that is skunks eat mice. But at any rate, yeah, it is. We need to move them along. On special emergency and preventative repairs, I did put an attachment that represents that, and again, that is just to show how much work our maintenance staff does on major, not routine, major, 18 major projects over the last 30 days. This is repairing walls, repairing stacks, 11 plumbing, and 7 plumbing and other major work, redoing kitchens, redoing bathrooms, 18 major projects over the past month, and we're going to keep on going. We do have a 2020 audit coming to the board for approval in July, and the auditors are due an HHA. It never ends for the 2021 audit. They're actually started today. And the finance department, Emil and his crew, are busy finalizing the housing finance agency grant loan numbers. And Daniel didn't get a chance to have his report in here, so Daniel, if you want to say a quick few words on your report, and then I'll be done with my presentation.
Thank you so much, Director. Good evening, Commissioners. If you notice, the sheet is actually separate. My report is actually separate on your banner, so you'll be able to find it there. I'm just going to go over some quick highlights of some of the upcoming events. Really thankful to Assemblyman Ruben Ramos Jr. That was a long time ago, but. Councilman Ruben Ramos has been a strong supporter of the Hoboken Housing Authority. Even before coming to the Housing Authority, I used to do a lot of health events through my local church, and Ruben was always there supporting these events. So, upcoming, we have the Atlantic City trip with our seniors. It's been a while since we've been to Atlantic City, so we're wrapping up some of our community outreach services, especially after the pandemic. So we're going to be, we're really thankful for what Ruben's been doing. Sorry, let me turn around a little bit. So really thankful. That trip is going to be June 14th, so we still have some space. So if anyone would like to sign up, please do so. We're leaving right out of 221 Jackson Street. President for Andrew Jackson South, Joe McDonald is having a fishing trip, and we thank also Ruben Ramos for providing transportation for that. So if you want more information, please call the main office, and we'll be able to provide you with his contact information for that trip. That trip is coming up June 17th. And we're heading to Dorney Park in the summer. So I know for years we have been going to Clementon Park, but this year I wanted to do something special for the residents, so we're heading to Dorney Park July 13. Thanks again to Councilman Ruben Ramos Jr. for providing 5 buses for that particular event. The Housing Authority is going to make a little bit of an investment, significant investment, into this particular trip, but it is for the benefit of our residents. We haven't done something significant since 2019, so we really want to be able to show our residents that we care with the little money that we have. And finally, for those families looking for employment, Community Solar has their training beginning June 27th at 221 Jackson Street, so please reserve time. Please connect with Community Solar. Give you a great opportunity for you to train in that industry and make some money. Thank you very much, Director.
I have a question, Director, pertaining to the family summer trip. I think this is an ongoing issue every year.
Yes.
Where buses get filled with individuals that do not live in housing or are
Yes,
not on housing leases. How are we going to verify that the children that are going are on leases? And I mean, I don't have a problem with other people going, but if we're going to pay for it, we have to give the priority to our children.
Yes, so
we discussed that at length at the RAD board meeting. Daniel, all yours.
So my apologies, Director. So
No.
yes, we actually explained and had the discussion with the RAD board. I've been working with Frank. We're going to send a letter to all of our families, and based on that letter, we'll be able to identify those residents. And of course, we made it clear to our RAD board that only resident authority individuals or resident of the Hoboken Housing Authority on a lease will only be allowed on this trip.
And we'll
So
give
we're
out
gonna-
tickets beforehand.
Yes, we'll give out tickets
Must be
before.
checked and be on the lease.
Yes, yes. So, like I mentioned to the rap board, we're gonna make sure that every resident that participates, or every individual that participates in the trip is a housing authority resident on a lease. Not that I live at the housing authority, but it's on the lease.
Great, thank you, because I think that's something we see every
Yes,
year where we
yes.
do actually have the residents that say, well, when I went to sign up, my kid didn't have a slot.
Right.
And the day of the trip, you go there and some of the kids are not even from there.
Exactly.
So I appreciate
No,
that.
thank you.
But, so to follow up on the chair's question, how is this funded?
Through our resident services budget that we put aside every year. We do put some money aside every year for resident services that the RAB board goes through and decides what events we should have, what they would like to do and partner with us. It's funded through that budget.
And Director, if I may interject, also, I would like to say that this is a significant expense, and Councilman Ruben Ramos has been providing buses, and these buses are about $900 a piece, so he invests close to $4,000 to $5,000 in these trips alone. So the Housing Authority puts in some money for our families to enjoy themselves, but also our partners also put in some significant down.
How much did you say?
So Ruben spends close to between $4,000 to $5,000, depending on the price of the. These are coach buses from Academy. So he spends close to $4,000 to $5,000 on these buses.
Are there any asset partners besides Coach Academy, like that MGM, they sponsor any trees like that?
No, this is all coming through Ruben Ramos, Councilman Ruben. Yeah, he's the one that's paying for the buses. For example, we're going to Atlantic City. He's paying for transportation for that. So there's a free trip for all of our city.
Well, don't forget the parents pay and the children go free, remember that.
Well, for this trip, all housing authority residents, and that's the reason we're really pushing this. We're going to work very hard, as we mentioned in the RAD board, that every resident that gets on this bus is actually on the lease, because the housing authority is actually flipping the entire bill for us. Except transportation.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you. Good report, and you do great work. We appreciate you. And that's the end of my report.
Do you have any questions, comments?
No, I mean, on the Atlantic City trip, if they hit 31, I mean, they might be able to pay for the whole trip themselves, but. Every time I go, I never hit it, so.
Are there any reports from the committee? Any unfinished business that we would like to go into? Okay, so now we're going to go to the resolutions. Resolution number 2022-06.01, resolution of the Housing Authority of the City of Hoboken to approve the meeting minutes for May 12, 2022, the reorganization meeting.
Make a motion?
Second.
Any discussion, guys? Roll call.
A. Forbes.
Mr. Forbes?
Yes.
Yes. A. Impastato.
Yes.
A. Lewitt. Yes. B. Reyes.
Yes.
M. Russo.
Aye.
J. Sanford.
No.
And E. Seitzman.
Yes.
Resolution number 2022-06.02, resolution of the Housing Authority of the City of Hoboken to approve meeting minutes for May 12, 2022, regular board meeting.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Director? Go.
Discussion.
Any discussion?
Nope.
Go.
A. Forbes.
Yes.
A. Impastato.
Yes.
A. Lewitt. Yes. B. Reyes.
Yes.
M. Russo.
Aye.
J. Sanford.
No.
E. Seitzman.
Yes.
Resolution number 2022-06.03, resolution of authorizing the payment of the monthly list of bills for the Hoboken Housing Authority.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Any questions, discussion?
I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
we have another, it seems like every meeting we have a big expense for the cars, truck fleet director. Where are we, I think it was like a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, where we talked about the car share, the truck share, I think it was with Councilman Russo. Do we have any, it just seems like it's a good idea to, instead of these old cars, '09, the fleet that's older, instead of continually paying for the expenses of fixing them, can we get like a truck that we share, or maybe we share with the city? I don't know.
Yeah.
Is there anything there?
We did a real hard look at the leasing option that is used with the city, that the city uses, and for our purposes, it just doesn't make financial sense when you project the finances out. Through the state contract, we get incredibly good deals on our vehicles, and when you put that out over time, the amount we spent on maintenance on the vehicles it just doesn't make sense. Rather than put out X amount of dollars per month for each vehicle, it really makes financial sense for us to purchase our own vehicles over time and keep them going. Most of them are just within the city. We only have really 1 or 2 vehicles that ever make long trips, and I think we're really stable on that. I know Emil did a lot of work with us on taking a look at those.
Look, can I buy her gas? So let me buy the soda, though.
Anything you want to add, Emil?
Yeah.
Brad, you're still on mute. You're off mute, by the way.
Mr. Forbes, if I may?
Yes.
I'm sorry, y'all. I'm out and about. I'm sorry.
No problem. So we did explore the enterprise car share option. The cheapest option we were going to get is about $600 a month. We've got about between 10 and 12 vehicles. So we're going to pay $6,000 a month, no matter what. Yeah, you are seeing a $3,000 or close to a $3,000 bill for the maintenance, but that doesn't happen every month. The other thing is that we're buying these vehicles for $25,000 to $30,000, and so based on that $600 figure, we are getting the return on investment in 5 years. So that vehicle is fully paid off based on that $600. And so collectively with the director, we made the decision that it doesn't really make sense for us right now.
What about getting rid of the older ones and doing the $600 a month for?
Well, it's kind of the same analysis. If we can buy a brand new vehicle for that $20,000 to $25,000, we start making back money between 4 and 5 years, rather than going with the ride share or lease share program. So we think it just makes a lot of sense. The other dynamic on that, by the way, is that on the leasing program, it comes out of operating budget, right? On a purchase, we can take it out of our capital fund funds. So our operating budget doesn't take a hit.
And then the last question, is it possible to discuss a share with the city? If they have trucks sitting in a garage somewhere that aren't being used? No?
There's just none of the vehicles.
Yeah.
All right.
We'd be happy if they give us one.
How many, on number 20, how many ID cards is that?
So that package was 800 ID cards purchased. Each ID card runs like $2.50.
Is that dual-sided?
So one side there's a picture, and the other side is the barcode.
And the ID number on the other side.
That's it right there?
Yeah.
So you're saying $2 an ID card? But that's with the print? That's with the print?
So we own the printing equipment.
So you buy them blank, right?
Correct.
I only know this because I just did this, and I got it at 12 cents an ID card. So I'll be more than happy to share that.
Yes, please.
I don't know. I don't know what's, maybe I got lucky here. But yeah, I'll share that. What's that?
Is your ID card embedded?
They're just blank ID cards. Is there like a special
Do you have
technology in
a
there?
magnetic strip on
They
there?
open our doors.
Yeah.
You know, they open our doors for in and out of.
Yeah, that might be it. Well, it's worth
Well, I
looking
mean,
at.
12 cents and $2 is a big
Yeah.
difference, so.
Yeah.
And the numbers behind it, isn't that what you guys need anyway?
Yeah, and then the ID numbers behind that, and that's into our system, so.
I'll share that, just to.
Be glad to
Worth
look for
that.
inspiration.
I had a note for the Harrison Gardens, the construction, like that pavement stuff, but you talked about that. The other comment I would make on this list of bills, and, you know, people on that security call, they keep asking us, well, what are you doing, right? What are you as a board member doing to help, you know, with solutions when it comes to money and your budget and your list of bills? And like, if I look at this list of bills, and we could probably go way back, I don't remember seeing a list of bills where like we're spending money on programs for teenagers. So I love to sit down with Danny. Like if you go under resident services here, there's a lot of stuff on here. You know, obviously great events, Mother's Day, Father's Day. You know, maybe we need to look at that budget and see if we can allocate more money to resident services and start spending money on events and programs geared for our older teenagers, young adults. That's.
Yeah, we'd be glad to do that, and we've got a budget year coming up over the next couple of months.
Yeah, we want to dig into that, right?
Yeah, as we dig into that.
And security.
Yes.
Those are the two.
To piggyback on that, I think we use a lot of our community partners like Hope's, Community Lifestyles, Ray Rodriguez. If we also could find out what we have a budget for, what we need to supplement, and what we need to go to grant, or go to the community, or find other sources. Like we said before, it will take all of us. So we shouldn't look at just, if we don't have the budget, because we only get, I think, $13,000 or something, is X amount allocated for resident services. So of course you can play with that and try to do it, make it fair to senior, student, you know, everybody. But then to look at our other community partners, because I know Hope's gives a lot of money, and there's lots of other ones. So find the need, meet them with the security committee, the resident services committee, or have two separate meetings and say, these are our asks, and then go to the community partners, come to ourselves, and try to find ways to solve that, what you're looking for.
Director, I'm sorry,
Absolutely.
Director, who does our grant applications?
It's right between myself and now Corinne's with us now, so she's going to be responsible.
So it's more like that team kind of effort
Yeah, but Corinne, now that she's with us, is going to play lead, for example, on the security grant that's due on the 15th.
Okay.
So she's getting her feet wet along with us.
When's the last time you got a grant for youth engagement?
Well, there really isn't much out there. There really isn't. HUD took a top of the world view, although we eke out some resident services money. HUD took a top of the world view 15 years ago when they stopped the drug elimination grant funding, which used to probably, I wasn't here then, but my organization back then got $250,000 a year to essentially be a mini United Way. I mean, we would be able to fund Hope, so we'd be able to fund things with 250 grand a year. You know, we'd have some significant, and folks are always asking me, why don't we have this program anymore? HUD came down with the idea that they were going to cut Public Housing Authority funds to the level that they fund us for keeping the heat on, for keeping the lights on, barely, right? And they're not going to fund us for social services. And their message to us was, reach out to your local nonprofits because that's their business. You know, we can't do what Hopes does. We can't do what Community Lifestyle does. We can't do what Ray Rodriguez does. And that was their message to us then, and continues to be the message. They don't have a lot of extra things that go toward actually programming.
We need to do it ourselves as commissioners, and we need to start like fundraising. Like I remember talking about this when I first joined. Well, we live in Hoboken, New Jersey, which is, you know, a lot of money out there, and we need to start hitting up our friends and our contractors, our developers, and start begging if we need to, but we need to.
I think I addressed this with you, Andrew, the other day after our security committee meeting, where we do have a nonprofit. Let's start using that nonprofit to raise funds specifically to fund these things that that we're talking about, games for the teens, to hit that target population that we see that have the most problems. So I think we can set up a meeting. Councilman Musa, we're gonna look to you to kind of guide us, because this is new to me, and I'm sure it's also new to a lot of people. I don't know if you've done it in the past, but I think we can use that nonprofit to our favor. And like you said, Hoboken will give money for kids. They will give money for seniors. So this is a way that maybe it's a start.
Well, we did it with the basketball court. When after that young gentleman died, and one of our residents died in Jersey City from a bullet. There was glass on the court. The baskets were all broken. We raised, $5,000 from local residents and got, 2 brand new baskets. I know you remember that.
Yeah, sure.
So it's possible.
HPEF, right?
No.
The Hoboken Public School Fund.
Yeah.
They raised
how much?
hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Great idea.
Not 5,000, right?
Yeah.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars.
And
So it's possible. I mean,
it's
a concerted effort. Their operation is a year-long operation. They do it all year long. They have their big event every year, and they continually raise money throughout the year. So when you're talking about a nonprofit, that's what that becomes. That nonprofit becomes a year-long push, not only for resident services, but anything else that we need to supplement the housing authority for. And I think it's a great idea. I think that should be the vehicle to do it.
Madam Chair?
it's a lot of work.
A lot of work, ton of work.
And if you could think of something that could be twofold, if you could think of having a fundraiser, something exciting in the courtyard or on campus here that would bring the community together, like what we did for the holiday extravaganza, but something where people would pay for a service, like a jazz festival. I'm just thinking out of my head, like a jazz festival or some kind of fun program. You do it here. You do it in the courtyard. This is our place to shine. And then you ask people to donate, and you pay it. It's a ticketed fee. And you can get donors and work with the nonprofit and do all those good things, but we should be able to show off too.
And there's really no reason that the housing authority can't directly solicit funds as well. I mean, we don't have to go through that.
We are a nonprofit.
That's correct.
You can write a check to the Hoboken Housing Authority.
And they have the same tax deductions, et cetera.
Okay.
So I think we need to do that discussion. And we're talking about a resident service committee meeting next week. We can discuss it a little further at that.
Absolutely.
Have a hand raised.
Sorry. Any other further questions, Andrew?
No, thank you.
Is that all? Do we have any discussion on this anymore? Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry, but the public portion is closed, so usually those questions are asked prior, so.
Just grab us after the meeting.
Yes.
It was for the general discussion. I'm kind of attracted to that. So I was just saying that, there's no shame in nonprofits. That's indicative of whether or not profits is contributing to the community.
Thank you.
Like Nike, Adidas.
Thank you.
But I'll ask that now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Did you do the roll call?
A. Forbes?
Unmute.
You got it about.
We got it, no problem.
Forbes?
Rev,
Type of soda did you buy?
Yes.
there you go.
A. Impastato?
Yes.
A. Lewitt? Yes. B. Reyes?
Yes.
M. Russo?
Aye.
J. Sanford?
No.
E. Seitzman?
Yes.
Jesus.
Resolution number 2022-0604, a resolution of the Housing Authority of the City of Hoboken to approve and increase the amount of the contract for the professional planning services with respect to the RAD program.
I make a motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Any questions? Concern? No? Can you do the roll call?
Sure can. I'm sorry. Oh, man. A. Forbes?
Yes.
A. Impastato?
Yes.
A. Lewitt? Yes. B. Reyes?
Yes.
M. Russo?
Aye.
J. Jay Sanford.
No.
E. Seitzman.
Yes.
Resolution number 2022-0605, a resolution of the Housing Authority of the City of Hoboken to increase the amount of the contract for dwelling unit improvements.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Director?
A. Forbes.
Aye.
A. Impastato.
Yes.
A. Lewitt.
Yes.
B. Reyes.
Yes.
M. Russo.
Aye.
J. Sanford.
Abstain.
E. Seitzman.
Yes.
Resolution number 2022-0606, a resolution of the Housing Authority of the City of Hoboken to increase the amount of the contract for Adams and Monroe Gardens masonry repairs.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Any discussion? No. Director?
A. Forbes.
Yes.
A. Impastato.
Yes.
A. Lewitt.
Yes.
B. Reyes.
Yes.
M. Russo.
Aye.
J. Sanford.
Yes.
E. Seitzman.
Yes.
Resolution number 2022-0607, a resolution of the Housing Authority of the City of Hoboken to extend the contract for maintenance and servicing of boilers and associated mechanical equipment.
Motion.
Second.
Any questions, concerns? Director?
A. Forbes.
Aye.
A. Impastato.
Yes.
A. Lewitt.
Yes.
B. Reyes.
Yes.
M. Russo.
Aye.
J. Sanford.
Yes.
E. Seitzman.
Yes.
Resolution number 2022-06.08, a resolution of the Housing Authority of the City of Hoboken to adopt a memorandum of agreement between the authority and Teamsters Local 97 and to authorize the executive director of the authority to execute an agreement incorporating the changes outlined therein.
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Director? Can you go?
A. Forbes.
Aye.
A. Impastato.
Yes.
A. Lewitt.
Yes.
B. Reyes.
Yes.
M. Russo.
Aye.
J. Sanford.
Abstain.
E. Seitzman.
Yes.
Resolution number 2022-0609, a resolution of the Housing Authority of the City of Hoboken to introduce proposed amendment to the admissions and continued occupancy policy of the authority.
Motion.
Second.
Any questions, discussions?
This brings the work that the admissions and continued occupancy policy committee brought to bear regarding the next time that we go out for applications, that there is a priority for Hoboken residents, and that Hoboken residents be considered as much as possible first. Another comment?
And I will just add that I know you may recall a few months ago you introduced a draft criminal activity policy, and that is out there for public comment. It's on the Housing Authority's website. As part of that, each of these things considered independently, the criminal activity policy and changes to the ACOP, the executive director has determined, and I agree, that they constitute significant amendments or modifications to the agency's annual plan, which means that a public hearing is required on each topic. In this case, the Housing Authority has determined to hold a single public hearing to address both issues, and that can't be held for 45 days from the date of a notice. So one of the things that has been discussed, and it's laid out in this resolution here, is the timing of that public hearing. And the two things that I mentioned to the director and to the chairs of the committees involved are so if you published a notice as soon as tomorrow, it's not going to happen tomorrow, but if you published it as soon as tomorrow, the earliest you could hold the hearing is July 25th. In reality, I see that the date in here is the 13th, which is next Monday. That's when a notice will go in the paper. So the earliest that you can hold a hearing then would be July 28th. And the consideration is that you should hold the hearing, and then you should provide yourselves with enough time to make changes as a result of the discussion, because obviously the hope is that you'll be getting some feedback from the public. Hopefully you'll get some ahead of time. People will have a chance to review it. They'll put some comments in writing. But also at that hearing, based on the discussion, everybody have a chance to be heard, there may be changes to what is eventually adopted. So you should provide yourselves with enough time to consider the comments received at that hearing and incorporate them into a draft that is put before the board for a final vote. So if you did have a hearing on July 28th, one option, and I know the chair asked me to lay these both out there, one option would be to hold a special meeting as soon as possible, July 28th, whatever it is that works with all of your schedules around that date, and have a special meeting at the end of July, have that be the public hearing, with the idea that you then have about 2 weeks or a week and a half, depending upon the timing in there, to incorporate changes and bring a final version before the board at the regular August board meeting. So in that case, having a special meeting towards the end of July, I understand it's the summer, but it would speed up the process and would allow you to adopt these possibly as soon as the August board meeting.
The only question I had is, we talked about the preference, including the Hoboken preference now, but we also talked about making sure that preferences were considered before we actually pulled for a wait list.
Yes, and
that's all in this. I just wanted to make sure we talked about that.
It is.
All right.
Is the short answer. I'll address that a little bit more. I won't bore you to death, but a little bit more in a second. With respect to scheduling, the other option would be, and it sounds to me like the chairs of the committees involved probably would lean against this and would go with the first option, would be to hold the hearing as part of the regular August board meeting, and then consider holding either a special August board meeting to approve the changes based on comments, or to hold it for the September regular meeting. And I think there's some desire not to do that. The desire is to move this along. So I don't want to speak for you, but it sounds to me like the preferred option is to have that special meeting at the end of July, with the hope that you could consider these for adoption and implementation at the regular August board meeting, which I believe is August 11th. August 11th.
Yeah. That would be my
and this resolution provides you either option, but just to be, I wanted to make sure everybody's clear that it sounds like that's the goal, is to try to have a special board meeting the last few days of July, possibly the first couple days in August, to give staff enough time to incorporate those changes, or any changes.
So with that said, would it be okay, I'm asking all the fellow commissioners, to have a special board meeting on July 20th? I know I'm available. I don't know, Andrew, would you be?
July what?
July 20th.
So that's a Thursday.
That's Thursday.
Yeah.
And then quickly, just to address Commissioner Russo's point or question while the rest of the board is checking their schedules. The proposed changes in the ACOP here. So you've already introduced the criminal activity policy. This resolution doesn't address that. That's already out there for comment. And assuming that a notice is published of a hearing, that is already on the website. These proposed changes that you would be approving now to the ACOP would go on the website. All of that would have to be on when the notice is published. The public would have the opportunity to go on, look at those, make comments, and in here it's got that written comments will be accepted until noon on July 31st. And depending upon when the hearing is, obviously oral comments could be made at that hearing. Anybody who wishes to attend, that'll be open to the public. The ACOP changes that are proposed here address not only, I guess, reinstituting a Hoboken resident preference, but also to try and tweak how the preferences are applied, so that it's clear that preferences would be applied prior to any lottery being conducted, so that anybody who might qualify for a preference would essentially be considered first. I don't want to say placed first. It would depend upon whether they qualified for that preference and based on additional screening at the time that they came up on the list. But essentially anybody with a preference would be considered before anybody who does not have a preference. And I think that would accomplish the goal of, to the extent possible. And when I say to the extent possible, for example, the state of New Jersey has a requirement that you have a veteran's preference and that be your first preference. So you can't say a veteran from or a resident of Hoboken who is not a veteran has precedence and can be placed before a veteran from the state of Alaska, for example.
Okay.
Under New Jersey law, you can't do that. However, to the extent possible, you can say, okay, in these limited circumstances where we have veterans who need housing and other displaced persons, who, by the way, have to be Hoboken residents under the existing policy, then you can favor all Hoboken residents next, before you favor anybody who is not a Hoboken resident. So that's what this draft here before you is intended to accomplish. I encourage you all to look at it. Let the director know if you have any comments, if you have any questions about how exactly this would work in practice. If there's something else you'd like to see in there, I extend that to the public as well, not just the members of the board. But hopefully these address those dual concerns.
Why does it have to be a special meeting?
I can answer that if you don't. It does not have to be a special meeting, but you do have to hold a public hearing as a board meeting. So the alternative would be that you could hold, so at this point you can't hold it before July 28th. So you could hold the public hearing at the regular August board meeting. But you then need time to incorporate any changes, so you wouldn't be able to adopt these changes, which includes a totally new criminal activity policy, then until the September board meeting. So essentially, a special board meeting for the hearing buys you a month of implementation.
And, but we have to pay you twice.
No, he does that for free. He hates when I tell him that.
So it's just waiting till September? Are we okay with that?
No, I do not want to wait till September.
No, but, and if you don't mind, Madam Chair, the reason why, if it was just the ACOP change and the preference change, it wouldn't be such a big deal to me, but we're also talking about the criminal policy change, and I think that one that's most time sensitive, at least for me, in my opinion. I want to make sure we have that on the books, because then I think we have the ability to make some significant changes when it comes to the criminality that happens, not only within our buildings, but on the grounds of our buildings as well. So.
And it also significantly addresses admissions and what happens before someone is even a resident of the authority. Obviously, probably paramount is what happens while they are a resident, but it also gives you greater tools in terms of what you can do before someone is a resident of the authority.
Yes, sir. Got it. Thank you.
And is all that consistent with HUD? Does HUD have any rules that we have to follow?
The public hearing process is a HUD rule.
Right.
So that is all part of the HUD rule. You do have to take it to the resident advisory board, make sure you get their input, which I'm sure will be part of the process. That was part of the process when the new ACOP was adopted. You do have to do a reasonable amount of outreach in terms of soliciting public comment. But mainly you have to have that hearing, and then once it is adopted in final form, it doesn't immediately go into effect. It has to be submitted to HUD for their approval, and they have a review period where if they provide comment, which I think they did on the ACOP with very minor suggested changes, and it came back to the board with those suggested changes, or if HUD is silent on it, I don't remember the statutory period off the top of my head, or it's under the regulations, it automatically goes into effect if the HUD remains silent. So all of this is consistent with the HUD requirements.
Counselor, if we're going to meet at a special board meeting on the 28th, would there be any possibility today of changing that date on the resolution to the 28th rather than the 31st by consensus here?
So what it says here is that a public hearing will be held no later than August 11th. And that was in case the board decided to go one way or the other. The July 31st date, and it's important, is the date for written comment.
Right.
And I would recommend having that be a few days after the date of the public hearing. That way, if anybody has anything that comes to their mind as a result of the public hearing, there's a little bit more time. It's not, oh, the public hearing was your last shot. They can go home and process their thoughts and put it in writing and submit it to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Matt, can I chime in for a minute? This is Emma.
Sure.
I don't have anything out yet, and so I don't believe we're gonna make July 28th. We need 45 days, and I don't think a notice is gonna make it to the
Okay.
Monday's papers.
So that's why I guess my draft of the resolution had a blank. So Emil, based on their current cycle, when's the earliest it can be in the paper?
So if I have something to the papers by tomorrow, it's gonna be Wednesday or Thursday.
That's
the
the
earliest.
I thought the ruling was
And
that
then we
we just
need
had to
45
notify the
from
paper.
there.
Come on. That's what your daddy's been saying.
So in this one, the actual reg says that notice has to be provided to the public. It's a little bit different in terms of the calling of a special meeting. In order to comply with the HUD regulation, 45 days, it has to be provided to the public. And to be safe, I would advise that that means it's in the paper.
So, Emily, you said you don't think if you got it in tomorrow, they won't publish till Wednesday?
Yeah, that's correct. Jersey Journal, it takes a few days in order to get public notices. I have their requirements that I can pass along, but if I provide it tomorrow, it's not gonna go until Wednesday.
So that would be,
The 15th.
July 30th would be your earliest possible date, which is a Saturday. So if that's the case, you're talking about as early as possible in August. August 1st is a Monday.
August 1st, okay.
And that still works.
Yeah, 'cause
Correct,
we're
you'd
on
still
Sunday.
have
Still
10
have ample
days
time to the 11th.
under that in order
Yeah.
to incorporate
Still have time.
any comments.
I mean, I could do that. I'm
I
fine
could
with
as
the
well.
first.
Yeah, that's okay.
I guess you're talking about Monday, August 1st, which wouldn't require any amendment to this resolution. It would just be, the chair would call it.
Correct. So with August 1st then?
Yeah,
I
good to
mean,
go.
adhering to?
Yep, that works.
Okay,
Everybody
Emil,
okay? Yes?
Emil, I will
Emil, don't
provide,
mess this up.
Emil, I will provide you
No,
either.
it's not on me. I need
I'm only
Mr.
kidding, Emil.
I'm trying to address that, Emil.
It is now.
So either tonight or definitely tomorrow morning, I will provide you with a notice calling the meeting for August 1st at 7 PM.
Yes, correct. And can
I
we have,
can,
yes?
yeah, I can, send you what I have, but it's gonna be starkly different. But Matt, like, if you can provide what I should be sending to the papers, I can send it first thing in the morning.
I will absolutely do that. I'll have it to you by tomorrow morning.
For free.
Thank you.
And we'll do Monroe.
And we're gonna
Okay.
do Monroe as
Monroe
the
Gardens,
location.
7 o'clock, August 1st.
August
Monday.
1st.
Okay.
Okay. Vote.
Are there any changes that I have to do on that or say, or can we vote?
No, this is actually, let me revise that. So this is asking for comments to be accepted up until July 31st. I would recommend that you push that a couple days until after the hearing.
Change that to-
So whether you want to do second, third, but you do want to give yourself enough time to incorporate.
Change it to the 3rd,
Okay, so the,
as amended to the 3rd.
as amended in the,
As long as Lourdes sends it out, we're
the
good.
third resolved clause would be comments on the proposed ACOP will be accepted until 12 PM on August 3rd, 2022.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
Motion?
Motion.
All right.
So,
Second,
so
yes.
it's already
I
before you, so now
Yeah,
it's.
yeah.
Oh,
Ready for call? A. Forbes?
Yes.
A. Impastato?
yes.
A. Lewitt? Yes. B. Rez?
Yes.
M. Russo?
Aye.
J. Sanford?
Yes.
E. Seitzman?
Yes.
Resolution number 2022-06.10, a resolution of the Housing Authority of the City of Hoboken to recognize Juneteenth as an authority holiday.
Motion.
Second,
Any questions?
Yeah, I saw something today that, I got a text message from somebody saying that the city's not recognizing it. Did you see that?
No, the city recognizes it.
Oh.
Yeah, I think there was a question about particular union.
Oh.
So I don't have all the details on it, but I'm looking into it as.
Yeah, I was wondering why they wouldn't recognize it.
Yeah, we recognize it.
the state does too.
Yeah, and it's funny, and I mean, I'm dealing with this right, so the state has one specific holiday that they recognize, and some municipalities actually recognize it on a different day. So I know some places recognize the Friday, some places are actually recognizing the Monday.
We're recognizing
Yeah,
that.
so,
HMSA employees.
yeah.
are not recognized.
Yeah, that's what I heard, but I don't have any facts yet. So.
Got it.
But yeah, I mean, this,
Director, quick question, when would it be held? I mean, when would you guys be
We're
recognized?
planning on Friday the 17th,
Okay.
because that's what we understand is what's going to be celebrated by Hoboken and the state. That
Okay.
said the 17th. Now, our normal policy is if it falls on a Sunday, we take Monday off. So we're changing that from our normal policy and celebrating on Friday because of that. I'd also like to note that in the union agreement that we passed earlier, that was part of the union negotiation, that they wanted Juneteenth too, so this brings our entire organization in line.
And I'll just add, Director, if you don't mind, that yes, it is kind of confusing. Some places will recognize it, the 18th falls on a Saturday, it's observed on Friday. If it falls on a Monday, it'll be observed, on a Sunday, it'll be observed on Monday. State of New Jersey, for whatever reason, I think probably to time it with respect to the 4th of July and space it out, and Memorial Day, kind of put it as much as they can in the middle, is observing it on the 3rd Friday of June, whenever that is. So some years it could be as early as June 15th. Other years it's as late as whatever the latest date that could be. So the Housing Authority is, the resolution before you is to bring it in line with the state and observe it on the 3rd Friday of June every year.
How does that affect our staffing, our coverage, and what days employees can take versus not take?
Yeah, it's just like every other holiday, right? Just like every other holiday.
A regular holiday.
Yeah, it's just another regular holiday that we're going to have coverage and our on-call staff, etc.
Any further discussion?
No.
Can we call it?
A. Forbes?
Yes.
A. Impastato?
Yes.
A. Lewitt?
Yes.
B. Reyes?
Yes.
M. Russo?
Aye.
J. Sanford?
Yes.
E. Seitzman?
Yes.
What do you think there, staff?
Thank you.
Director, before we close, I just have a question. Are all the offices currently open? All
Yes.
offices in the Housing Authority?
Yes.
So they are?
Yes.
Okay, and it's normal business hours, correct?
Yes, we are doing a study now, and we think we may in the near future start to do some staggered management office hours, so folks can be there later for folks that work all day. So I'm a huge fan of that. And we're going to push that so we can have staggered hours at some of our management offices.
Madam Chair, one question.
Sure.
During COVID, the gentleman was working for us. He was double dipping, supposedly, working for Jersey City Police in their academy while managing one of our buildings. We fired him. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do.
He's working for the Jersey City Police right now, still. So, I don't understand how that happens.
If I may just ask counsel, since it's an employment matter,
Yes,
is this
that
something
should
that we
be
need to discuss in closed
That's
session?
why I hesitated. I mean, while he is no longer an authority employee, I do want to be a little bit careful about veering into too many specifics. To address your question, once he was terminated, once anyone is terminated by the Housing Authority, I do believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that the Housing Authority did, actually, I shouldn't say correct me if I'm wrong. Did the Housing Authority involve any other entity by telling them about the situation?
Yes.
And you might want to provide more detail on that.
Well, they knew.
Without a whole lot of.
I mean,
Right.
the other parties involved that were mentioned knew.
The other employer was
Yeah.
advised of what had happened on the Housing Authority's end.
Yeah.
And what steps they take from that point is not the authority's purview, frankly. The Housing Authority did what it could with respect to its own employees.
Okay.
Yeah, they,
Got it. Thank you.
motion to close?
Just one question.
Sure, sure.
Sorry to interrupt.
See, you're jumping the
Just
gun.
want to make sure.
The reactionary.
Is there any new business? No?
Motion to close.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
So make sure you buy your ticket.
Okay, Rob.
Yes, go buy your ticket. Go buy the tickets.
Are we gonna check the lights?
Yeah, fine.
Oh, guys, before we
I'm
leave,
ready.
can we please wish Miss Lourdes a happy birthday? And it's her birthday today.
25?
Happy
birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Lourdes. Happy birthday to you.